What's up, everybody? How's it going? My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm bringing you some tones from Audiority and some of their wonderful products, as usual, actually. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to show you guys how to get doom and kind of stoner rock tones with nothing but Audiority products. That's really not very difficult. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're into doom and stoner rock, or if you know other people that are, let them know about these plugins, because in all and complete honesty, there really isn't anything better out there as far as doom and stoner under one roof. There's no other company that's doing it to this level as far as stoner and doom kind of plugins go, or at least plugins based on popular gear in those genres. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm using just a standard Ibanez Destroyer today, with some rail hammer pickups in it. They're kind of like a P90 sort of design. So that's what we've got going on right now. And what I'm using for the amp this time around is the Solidus Randy 250, or as we like to call it around here, Solid Randy. And this is a plugin that's based on two different Randall amps. You can check out one of the other videos that goes through this amp sim in its entirety, in this entire plugin. We're not going to focus so much on the plugin today, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing as far as basically this bare bones kind of sound. I'm started with the bare bones gain preset, but it's heavily edited. So don't pay any mind to the bare bones gain preset up there. Okay, now this is kind of a basic, kind of gainy kind of sound. Oop, hang on. Now, what you don't want when you're after stoner rock and doom kind of tones, you don't want a lot of amp gain, because you're going to rely on the pedals. And we've got a whole bunch of them here. I'm going to go through each one just a tiny bit and show you how you can kind of use these pedals along with Solid Randy. In the cab section, I'm going after just one. I'm going to be kind of focused on these Crank Texas Heats, and you might not think that's a crazy good doom cabinet, but in fact, the Eminence Texas Heats are a very, very good, very solid speaker for, you know, doomy kind of genres, stoner rock, and anything right down to, you know, southern rock and kind of such. So that's why this is kind of a wonderful addition in here. Dime himself did use Texas Heats, but we're not focusing on Dime as much as we're focusing on doom and kind of stoner rock tones. Okay, that is. We're gonna find something that's not quite as bright. Hang on. That actually sounds really good. Okay, not doing a heck of a lot else. We've got the cab, we've got the amp. We're not going to use a whole lot. We're not going to need a whole lot going on here inside the amp. Okay, just tuning up a little bit here to make sure that we are fully ready to go. Awesome. Okay. And the first pedal that I'm going to focus on today, we've got a whole bunch of them here, as you can see. We've got the heavy pedal we'll call it Mark II. We've got the Green Reaper. You might think, well, what's a tube screamer going to do for stoner doom? Well, I'm going to show you. We've got the Blue Face. We've got the Distortion 1. And we've got the Big Goat. Okay. I'm not going to go over which pedals and whatnot each and every one of these are based off of. Every single one of these pedals is going to have its own video shortly, if it doesn't already. So we're going to start with just our friend the Big Goat here and show you some. We're going to go a little bit more kind of vintage sounding right now for starters. A little bit of classic doomy kind of sounds. We're going to engage this guy here. Now, my general rule of thumb when it comes to fuzz pedals is to turn the sustain or the fuzz or whatever it is just to crank that all the way to the right. No problem. All right, back it up. And now the tone's going to be to taste. Really depends on your pickups, your picking style, and how much cut you want to the tone. Let's see what we've got. Pickups. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why if we're thinking about Doom, why are we not using like an orange amp or something like that? Well, yeah, that's a good point. You could be, if you'd like. But this is an amp that in reality, actually, in its real form, in the RG100, is, and actually it's quite popular. It's kind of quite legendary in the Doom world and we'll call it swamp rock, the whole NOLA scene back in the day. Bands like Down, Crowbar, a lot of those kind of bands, they utilized the RG100 just like Dime did. I Hate God, a number of those bands. I Hate God being the band, of course. If you're not familiar with the band, that's not a statement. So basically, a lot of those bands, it's, trust me, there's a guy named Jimmy Bauer, and he is very familiar with this amp. So now, to me, that sounds just wonderful. So we're going to move that down just a little bit. Now we're going to move from the big goat. Now with the tone knob, you can really fuzz things out, or you can create a little bit more cut. I like to have some cut. It's a little bit of top end in my Doom and Stoner Rock tones because it's nice to have that cut, especially when you're burying it with other instruments and trying to create this kind of wall of fuzz. You want to make sure there's some sort of identity to the instruments inside that wall of fuzz. So we're going to back up the tone knob here just a little bit, and I'll show you that. Now, if I'm to start on the bridge pickup, like so, that can actually use that, the backing off that tone knob for sure. If you listen to the tone I had before, if I crank that up, that's what we started with. Not as great as it could be. Let's back that off. So backing off the tone knob really creates that additional amount, that additional amount of kind of muffling, that a little bit less cut, if you will. But if I want to use my neck pickup and I want more cut, see right now, there's not as much picking definition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my neck pickup as I just did, and I'm going to bring the tone up. So now you understand where you can create that bite where you need to. So we're going to get rid of the big goat, safe for will. Distortion 1, folks. Distortion 1. Okay, so, we're going to have to make sure that we bring up the big goat here. I have to make sure we turn him off. All right, cool. So now, Distortion 1 based on, of course, the DS1 from Boss. You might know this as like a kind of a Joe Satriani or whatever, Steve Vai back in the 80s. A lot of guys use this pedal, and it was wonderfully popular. You know what else it's popular for? Creating kind of gross doomish tones. So I'm going to just kind of work with it a little bit here. The tone, again, the tone is going to be to taste, depending on the neck and the bridge pickup, how much cut we need. The level, we're going to, that could be to taste. And distortion depends on how much filth we want in that, in the tone. So we're going to start a little bit, kind of bring it back, and let's see what we got. Now that's approaching kind of that garage rock, maybe kind of post rock, or almost like that shoegaze kind of sound. Maybe depending on your style in that. I mean, I guess those genres can kind of feature a number of different types of tones. But what I mean is it's just a little bit less gainy. So it could still be used for, when I say garage rock, you could bring garage rock into play and mix it with something like stoner doomish, and then you get what has become like the newer version of Queens of the Stone Age, where they're a little bit poppier, and there's a little bit less gain. So you could use the DS1 for something like that. switch to my bridge pickup. Now I need to know, sorry, I'm noticing I need to go into the amp, maybe bring up the low end. Now I know that there's way too much top end right now, so I'm going to bring back that tone knob and bring up the distortion a bit. So as soon as I switch to my bridge, or rather my neck pickup, we lose that identity immediately. Not quite enough cut. Bring a little bit. So again, you're hearing some of the things you can do with this pedal. It really is filthy. It can make some gross and very, when I say that, I mean that in an endearing way, gross in a good way. You can create some wonderfully filthy kind of tones with the DS1, especially if you decide that you'd like to stack it with other pedals. And it does. It actually plays, it can play well with other pedals, but it really depends on you. I'm going to do another video at some point that involves stacking pedals, but in the meantime, if you do ever stack the DS1 with anything, be mindful of the amount of distortion you're using. Always keep in mind that when you're stacking pedals, ideally, you don't want to crank the gain to ridiculous levels. So we're going to try to stack these two right here, just for an example. So I'm gonna hit it, and then I'm gonna hit it, okay? And then, so let's hear it without first. Now let's kick it. So really, you can do a lot of different things with it. Also, be mindful of your level. If I got my level roughly halfway here, my level halfway here, that essentially is me diming the level of something, right? That's the way I'm thinking about stacking. Okay, if you're going to really drive things home, like say you want to really crank the fuzz and the distortion, just be ready for some noise. Okay, be ready and understand there is going to be some noise involved. You're going to need a gate. Currently, don't believe Audiority has a gate, as far as I know, but there are many out there, and you know probably one sitting in your DAW right now. So there are gates inside of this, this plugin right here does have a gate. But if you're noticing, you're like, why don't I just use this gate? Because we're thinking about signal chains, folks. Okay, and if you're using these pedals immediately, if I'm using these pedals out front of this suite, the EQ Duo, the gate, the OD, I have to think about the new signal chain I'm creating by putting these pedals out in front of this plugin. Okay, so you really have to be mindful of anything that you're running out in front of this amp right here if you're starting to use other things in the signal chain. It's not just as simple as clicking on this gate and having it work for the whole thing, because suddenly there's a signal running into it and in front of it, and it's just not going to work out the way a gate is supposed to work out. It's supposed to be at the start of your chain. Remember that. Okay, just remember, if you're stacking pedals, there could be, in theory, some noise. So let's do a little bit more experimenting with these two. Let's bring the tone down, volume up. Let's see what we got. So that really, you can create your own brand of your own signature sound by stacking pedals together, especially when it comes to doom and stoner rock, because you know fuzz pedals are fuzz pedals, right? You need something that's going to stand out, and the way that you're letting the pedals kind of dictate the sound. And the amps are really, in the sense of using fuzz pedals and stuff, and distortion pedals and fuzz pedals, they're not like tube screamers, okay? In the sense that you can't just use them to boost things in that sense, okay? So distortion pedals, you're really leaving more of your sound up to the pedal. So goodbye DS1. Oh, we left the DS1 on, didn't we? Okay, so we left the DS1 on. We have to turn that off. We have to remember to do that. Okay, and away she goes. Now comes to one of my favorite plugins from Audiority, and that is just this simple blue face here. I'm also going to bring in, we're talking about stacking, and I'm going to bring in this fella right here in a minute. But for the moment, we're just going to work with the blue face. Now, the blue face, aka fuzz face in real life. Now, this pedal is very, very well known for being more, in my opinion, more on the stoner rock side than it is the doom side of things. And if you're not sure what the differences are, you're going to have to go look it up. The difference between stoner rock and doom is sort of like bands, I guess Queens of the Stone Age, Fu Manchu, bands like that would fall under stoner rock. And the other side of things would be like bands like Monolord, Electric Wizard. So you'll see that there, rather hear and see that there are a lot of relatable things between them, and a lot of the gear does kind of boil over in the Venn diagram of genres. But for now, I'm kind of going to lean towards the blue face / fuzz face being a little bit more for something like stoner rock. So if you want to listen to Fu Manchu is a great example of a tone something like this. I head over to the neck pickup, and you'll hear how things change and start to sound a little bit doomier. That's the blue face. These are just, all of these can be had, by the way, at audiority.com. And you can head over there, and honestly, every single one of these pedals is priced in a way that you can afford all of them, whether they're on sale or not. If they're on sale, then you're really winning. And if they're not on sale, then you're still winning, because these things are priced amazingly well. So this is the blue face, and you have my stamp of approval, trying to pull on Luca's leg to get some mods. Like, he's got these wonderful mods in so many of his pedals, and I wish there could be a mod for this one right here. Let's stack it real quick, and I'll show you guys what I like to personally stack Tube Screamer with the blue face here. I back off the fuzz a little bit. I back off the drive. What I'm essentially doing is creating a bit of a boost to the tone before it hits the fuzz face / blue face and gets deadened a little bit. Okay, so let's check it out. So when you're using your neck pickup and you can't really go to the pedal for that tone control, you can just stack it with a Tube Screamer, just something like this. And essentially you're going to put the Tube Screamer either in front of the blue face or after it, depending on your personal taste. Okay, so in this case, I'm putting the Green Reaper before in the single chain. That's why I kind of have it laid out this way, as I would have it on the floor. Okay, so here it is without. I'm going to on my neck pickup. That sounds terrific on its own, but what if I wanted to bite a little bit more? And there you have it. Really easy to do. These are just standard Tube Screamer settings, by the way. My standard Tube Screamer settings are basically what you're looking at right here. Although the drive tends to be up just a pinch, I like it to be up about, just one notch on the old mouse wheel here even. And then the tone to be, rather the tone end level to be somewhere around 70%. And that's where they're sitting right now. And then you run that right on into the blue phase here, and it creates a kind of more of a push to things, more power. You know what I mean? So we're gonna turn both of these off. Boop, and we're gonna get rid of them. Bye bye. And last but not least, and by the way, there is one other effect I want to mention before we get to the heavy pedal. I want to recommend one other thing. If you truly want to make some guitar sounds that sound, oh my God, like some of just the most disturbingly heavy, saturated fuzz, and you can just really get creative, check out an effect from Audiority called the Abuser. Absolutely fantastic. You guys can go and check it out. Really, you need it. If you want to make some absolutely brutal sounds. I'm going to do another video on it at some point, but man, just go and check it out ASAP. But I think the heavyweight champion of doom sounds, for my personal taste, until somebody out there does a Boss Hyperfuzz plugin, right now we're looking at probably my go-to as far as if I was going to go doom side of things. And that is the Boss heavy metal pedal, aka in this case the heavy pedal. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play without it. Now you might know this pedal as being more of, not more of, but basically being the voice of Swedish death metal. That's what this pedal was known for its entire life. And I always wondered why no one ever really grabbed this pedal and used it for doom or something along those lines. And no one ever really did. And then finally I started seeing it pop up on this Does It Doom channel. Go and check out, his name's Steve Reese, by the way. Wonderful man, knows a ton about fuzz, knows a ton about stoner rock tones. You need to follow this guy. He's wonderful. And you can apply all the stuff you learn from him right into plugin land, no problem. I have done so myself, and I can fully vouch for the fact that his settings play very, very nicely into plugins. Okay, let's move along. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to we're not going to go full Swedish death metal. Why we're not going to go full Swedish death metal? Well, I'm going to go full Swedish death metal with the level and the distortion. But up here, we're going to just get a little bit less. We're going to take a little of that sizzle out. So things are going to look more like that. Now let's check this out. That sounds wonderful. I'm going to take some distortion off this time. I'm going to bring up this, we'll call it the high EQ, the H. That's about as good as it's going to get. Ooh, that sounds good. Doesn't it? Hang on a sec. Let's riff out a little bit with this one. Now let's add that low note to really get, to really summon the demons. Holy cow, that sounds wonderful. Wow, I was actually I'm just a little blown away right now. And the last but not least, what we're going to go for here is this is a mod invented by the man himself. Luca over at Audiority made a wonderful mod for the HM2 for just this kind of application. You want to sound filthy? Well, guess what? Let's go to the filth setting. I'm going to leave you with this. Guys, I'm going to play my way out. Thank you so much for watching, and I am absolutely blown away by these plugins every single time I use them. Honestly, it's a pleasure to be able to do these videos for you guys, and I hope that we can keep them coming, and I hope that you guys find them entertaining as well as educating. Okay, Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and we'll see you guys another time.